Ciao, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving. Or if you're watching this on another day, hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Good to see everyone here. Happy Thanksgiving, Alfred. By the way, I've got the turkey in the oven, the mashed potato going. So we're going to talk and then we're going to eat, right?
Yep.
Can we say hello to a few people? Ciao, Christine Cornelio, Michael Blaze, Joe Assioni, Joe and Sue, Dusty Costello is here. Be Green, happy belated birthday. Maria's here. Vivian's here. Wow, we've got a lot of people here. We're going to have a live guest in just a little bit. We're starting this whole new format, so I hope it's fun for you guys. But we thought we'd come here today to talk about Thanksgiving today and in the past. Last year, we were in Rome, right, with your family.
Right.
That was great. The year before, we were in Amsterdam.
Correct.
Great memories. What's one of your fondest memories for Thanksgiving?
Probably when I was a kid with my family, growing up. Although with my family now, obviously, since I can't see them, those memories are getting right up there. They're kind of moving up too. Hey, before I get started, I want to also wish Be Green a happy birthday.
I did. I just did.
Well, I want to do it too.
Sure.
She had one of those Facebook fundraisers for the Sicilian project, and she hit a goal. She made like about almost $400 or $500 for the Sicilian project. B, I love you. Awesome.
All right. If you're watching this on YouTube, this is You, Me, and Sicily. We're also on Facebook. But I want to talk to you about Thanksgiving in Sicily. And no, they don't celebrate it. People have actually asked me that. And I had a very interesting interaction today in the supermarket talking about turkey in Sicily.
Well, see, in Sicily, they go from Wednesday right to Friday. They skip to Thursday. No, they don't. I have a funny story to tell you about Thanksgiving in Sicily. In Sicily, yeah. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stories I can tell you, but this one is pretty cool. About 15 years ago, I brought my kids here. Matthew and Lindsay, who was going to be his wife, Jen and JR, and they ended up getting married, and Katie, okay? And she's single, by the way. She's single still, by the way. Anyways, so I had a nice big house down the road, and the kids wanted turkey. So in those days, it was very difficult to find. Today you can find turkey, but 15 years ago, it was very hard to find. So one of my pals from the base gave me a turkey. It was frozen in nitrogen. Okay. It was
now, is this an American turkey or a Sicilian turkey?
This is a Tom turkey that was sold at the base at Sigonella. Okay. So on Monday before the Thursday, I put it out because it had a defrost, and it was only about that big. Okay, just enough for 5 or 6 people. By the time the bird defrosted, I realized that it was far too big for my.
It blew up.
No, yeah, it got. Woo! It was far too big for my my oven because I have regular Sicilian size oven and no more than 18 inches by 18 inches, maybe 20 inches by 20 inches. So the kids were like, "Well, Dad, what are you gonna do? The bird's too big. What are we gonna do?" So I called my mom up. In those days, my mom was alive, God rest her soul, and she instructed me how to cut the turkey, cut the drumsticks off, cut the wings off, and I coated it with extra virgin olive oil, salt, pepper, and oregano, and surrounded it with potatoes, also with the oil and oregano, and we put it in, and it was delicious. Normally in the States we don't have that type of we just broil it, or whatever the hell you do to it. But then one time I remember I was with Massimo, and Massimo doesn't eat that type of stuff. Turkey. Did you know that?
Well, a lot of Sicilians don't.
Yeah, he doesn't eat that type of stuff. And I remember he choked down a couple of bites over there. He wasn't that thrilled about it. But here the turkey, what do you think about the turkeys here?
So first of all, the interaction I had in the supermarket, the woman said to me, I said, we're making the turkey, the mashed potatoes, I made an apple pie. She said, where do you find turkey? I said, our local supermarket, but you have to go certain days because they don't have it all the time. And the turkey here, I'm telling you guys, the thigh is like as big as my arm. It's like, even a little bit more. It's very rare to find, and you can't find turkey breast only in the, when it's smoked or something like that.
Yeah.
An actual turkey breast doesn't exist. And if you're going to buy a big one, forget about it because you can't get it into the oven. They're humongous.
One drumstick and one thigh, which is what we bought, was 10 pounds. One drumstick and one thigh was 10 pounds.
Yeah, it was about 4 kilos. Okay. Ciao, Robert Kramer, Be Green, Don, and I send a love back to both of you. By the way, apparently today is Native American Heritage. Okay. Whatever you call it, we call it Happy Thanksgiving. Okay, we're going to have
Thanksgiving. Columbus Day, Thanksgiving.
That's another topic. All right. So we want to hear about where you are joining us from. Obviously, we're in Sicily, and we're going to bring up to the stream in about 30 seconds the Cornelio family. Are you guys ready, Cornelios?
This is a test. We don't know
Ciao.
if it's going to Christine and Frankie boy.
Hey, Alfred.
Hi, guys.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving. You guys having good day? There's Angela. Is that Angela in the background?
What's up?
I think we have devices listening because I can hear the feedback.
Yeah, you have to shut your devices off.
No, we can't hear you.
Now we can't hear you.
I have to mute it only when we're the mic. Yeah.
That's perfect.
What are you guys doing for Thanksgiving?
We are going to a very close family friend's house, keeping it small. There'll only be 9 of us there. That's it, really. I'm busy baking. I made an apple spice cake yesterday, and now I'm making chocolate chip cookies. And I have I made it what is that? The Italian salami cookie that's in the freezer, and I am making caramelized sweet potatoes.
Wow.
Sounds good.
You know, Frank Cornelio was the subject of a very great episode that we did, where Frank connected with his cousins, his 10,428 cousins in a small little town called Kanikati. But what we didn't get on video that almost brought tears to my eyes was, because we were there at the airport, Fontana Rosa Airport, is when they got off the plane and met the family for the first time. It was overwhelmingly emotional.
Yeah, that was
about 3 years ago, I think, right, Frank? That was about 3 years ago, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And Kelly and her mother, Bridget, thanks to the generosity of Frank and the family, they've been subsidizing one of our Sicilian project teaching classes there. We've done 2.
Obviously, we're on pause now, but we'll bring it up as soon as possible. You know what? One of my fondest memories of that whole experience was when we were over there in the bakery in Kanikati, and we called you guys. Remember?
Yes, I do.
We called to your cousins. That was
great.
We met them before you guys met them. Yeah. So that was cool.
How, Frank and his family, this young Frankie is not there, and
he's busy playing PlayStation. The new PlayStation. He got an early Christmas present in the house. Came yesterday.
A Cornelio family is representative of the type of people that follow us. Okay, there's Sicophiles. If you cut Frank's arm, he bleeds Sicily. He really does. Okay. And we talk quite often about, maybe someday they got to come here and, spend an extended period of time when he retires. Although, honestly, he's Mr. Moneybags. He's got more money than I don't know who.
I wish.
Where's the money? I don't know where the money is.
Nah, there's no more overtime.
Listen, I venture to say that also Sicily has gotten into Christine's bloodstream.
Yeah.
Am I right?
I'll tell you what got
Yes, it has. Yes, it has.
Angela's bloodstream, without a doubt.
Oh,
yeah.
Angelo. Wait, I want you to know how Angelo started his morning. He'll tell you.
What? I had espresso. Espresso. I went to the espresso shop.
He has a new friend here in New York called Tutto Calcio. And it's an espresso bar. And Angelo frequents there on a daily basis, and that's how he starts his day with an espresso.
People that own are they're from Borgetto near Palermo. Yeah. And they're gonna be doing an episode very soon. They're gonna be in touch with you guys.
I of Angelo is every day having gelato and an arancini, right? Am I right? Am I right or wrong? The last day you
Yeah.
were,
Yep.
And Pane Panelli.
Pani Pinelli.
and you did the taste test
I
like
wanna-
Alfred.
I want to congratulate Angelo because soccer and his brother Frank. This week he kicked a left-footed goal. The highlights is number 3 on ESPN. And I love it. You make sure you do good in school, okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's very important. Okay, we have to go now because we have other
Thank
people.
you, Cornelius, for coming on.
Bye, guys.
Ciao. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Enjoy it. Thank you, guys.
How do I bring?
All right.
Okay, that was fun. That worked.
You
So
know,
happy.
This was a beta test for us because she got this new software and evidently it works. Next Sunday, or this coming Sunday,
we have your brother coming
yeah,
on.
we have
Can't
my
wait to
brother
hear
coming on.
that.
So we wanted to make sure that the software worked because he would bust my chops forever if it didn't work.
All right, look, Robert Kramer. Do Sicilians like chickens? Let's
Yeah.
put this question up here. Do Sicilians like chicken? My Sicilian grandmother insisted on fried chicken for Thanksgiving. I'm guessing that they acquired that taste from the United States. Probably. That chicken.
Chicken soup? Are you kidding me? That was
Well,
one of the
that's
prime
ours.
ingredients. We used to have on Thanksgiving Day in the States, as an appetizer, so to speak, would be the cutlets. My mother would have a stack of cutlets 7 inches high on the stove for people to come around and just munch them before the meals. All right. But the first course was always what we call over there Italian wedding soup, which was essentially a chicken stock broth, and it had all stuff in it. And the most important thing that it had in it was a little polpettes, a little meatballs, and scalora, which is escarole, a couple other things. Everybody would get a small bowl of that, and then of course the first course would be pasta, some type of pasta, and then so now really that would be a meal for you and I. Right, that's it, because we would stop there. But then of course comes the turkey, and it was always like the biggest bird you ever saw. In the United States of America. And then, of course, after that, before the desserts came out, you'd have a big, huge bowl of roasted almonds, walnuts, and chestnuts out there, and grapes. And then finally, you would have the dessert. Now, the only difference between having Thanksgiving at our house and having Thanksgiving at my grandmother's house was that at my grandmother's house, all her furniture was still covered with the plastic, okay?
Oh my God.
And also the lamps. So we would be in her dining room, right? We couldn't sit down. If we sat down on that stuff, forget about it.
Did you guys ever use that room?
Never. That was one room. I think they were saving it for their wake. I don't know what it was.
So wait a second. Only the kids weren't allowed, or did they use it?
They never used it. Okay, that was like a museum. It was like the Madame Truffaut Wax Museum. It was like stuff that they bought, but you just couldn't go into that particular room. They had another room for Thanksgiving and stuff, if you can believe that. Yeah. So that was an interesting memory of Thanksgiving and, when I was a kid growing up with my grandmother and my grandfather. It was great.
All right, let me do some shout outs. Nancy DeMarco says hello. Vivian says, I love this software.
Good, it works. That's good. Jimmy Ingram said he's having trouble with his phone.
Ciao, Anna Marie is here. Oh, speaking of Anna Marie, working on the next episode right now. I spent all day editing and writing yesterday, and it's going to be on the city of Trapani, which is a fascinating town because of the salt pans, but it's also the great downtown, very Baroque, very also a lot of Baroque and a lot of Islamic influences in that
Phoenicians,
town.
that's why, because the Phoenicians settled there.
And it's one of the biggest ports. It's a very important
great
fishing
port, great city, great people, great salt.
I learned so much about
about
sea salt, about how it was used by the Phoenicians to keep fish and meat fresh, because they traveled a lot. Also in the tanning. In the canning process for leather, and also, Alfred, it was used for trade, right?
Well, I'll tell you a little factoid that people don't really know, but in the ancient times, salt was used as a currency, okay? As a matter of fact, on the other side of the island, in the province of Siracusa, there's a small little mountain town called Buccheri, and they have a very particular olive. Their olives, during the Roman era, their olives were so in demand that the olives were actually used as a trading currency as well.
Wow.
If you can believe that. But the salt and Tropody, when we had all things to see, and we used to import that by the container. Okay, we kind of like, I don't want to say invented, but we invented salt, not only the rock and the fine salt and the rock salt, but we were the first ones to come out with bruschetta. You mix it with the, you know, okay, we had that with all the herbs in there. Then we had another one for chicken. We had another one for fish. We sold a lot of that stuff.
All right, let's say a few. I'm laughing. My grandparents also had room like that with
Oh,
plastic over the
she's
furniture.
not only my parent.
Hey, Jen and Katie are here. Happy birthday. Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, Katie, my daughter Katie,
Your
and my daughter Jen.
happy Thanksgiving from Scotland. Hello, Peter Mantione. Wow, all our New York buddies are here.
Yeah,
That's
a
great.
lot of them, huh?
Ciao, Jim Ingram is back here. Do you remember? Do you remember that, Al? Aunt Rose had the same thing.
It's
That's
unbelievable what the Italians would do. I'll tell you a funny story one time, right? When I first got married, right, I didn't have, as they say,
That's our flag.
I didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. Okay, we were poor, myself and my wife. So my grandmother made arrangements with her cousin to pick up some furniture that she had, right? So I walked into her house. And this was like just going back to early 70s, right? And she had literally antique furniture in 2 rooms with the plastic still on them.
That's funny.
Yeah, so I took them home. I said, geez, I don't know if I should take the plastic off or what.
All right.
Yeah.
Jim Ingram says, where my family came from in between Marsala and Trapani, they have salt here from the sea. Yes, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
The salt flats are all over Sicily, which is really fascinating.
Well, there's a lot of salt flats all over the world. She likes to use the Himalayan salt, the pink salt so we kind of switch around for the salts, huh?
You know what I want to talk about?
What?
Anyone know?
Sesame cookie.
It's a Sicilian sesame cookie. You know what they're called? Reginas.
Another word for Reginas. Regina, so far that I know.
Regina biscotti.
Sicilian for grape, Sicilian for cookies, and then there was one other.
Yeah, we had that on All Souls and All Saints Day. We had a Regina.
What's that?
That's the white one.
The white ones, too.
Yeah.
Everything is, that means queen, by the way, just so everybody knows. Hey, I have to give a shout out before I go any further to my daughter, Katie. Katie! You know, I knew you got kidnapped. I really did, you know, and I paid the ransom. And finally,
your dad wants to hear from you.
Maybe, did they take your cell phone? Please. Okay.
Call your
I
dad.
love you.
Okay, stop it. Leave the poor kid.
It's so good that
Pat
you're
and
watching
Anthony Gelfano are here. Awesome. So I want to finish about this cookie. You know why I like this cookie?
Why?
First of all, I love sesame, you know, because you don't like sesame with your bread, but I love it. Sesame adds a great little flavor to this. And this is crunchy. And you know how much I love my crunch.
I like it with my coffee. Take my coffee.
Yep.
It has a little bit of anisetta in there. Yummy. It's good.
That adds
good,
a great flavor to it.
It does.
Wow.
It does. The anisette has a good. Anisette is so healthy for you too. I mean, the star anise ingredient is so healthy.
You know the sesame, white sesame, where that influence comes from?
No.
It's the Arab influence.
How come though, when you go to the cupboard to get those, you stand in front of the cupboard and you say, "Open sesame"? No, I'm only kidding.
Oh my God, that was a good one.
Okay.
Wait, we had another joke we wanted to tell.
Oh, about the turkey.
Laura Ciro's here. Ciao from Lawrence, Massachusetts.
Cool.
Hey, good to see you.
She asked me a question today. It was, I don't want to say it was a dumb question, but you know, she says, "Hey, you know, if an Italian turkey gobbled to an American turkey."
Would they say gobble gobble? Wait, you switched
would
the
they
story
say
around.
Would they say, you know, gobble 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 to one another, right? So I'm thinking about this. I'm driving and I look at it. I says no. I says the Sicilian turkey would say, "Hey, tu, chi stai facendo?" The Italian turkeys are so much bigger. It's just unbelievable. It's just no comparison, and they're free range too. Over here, but the ones that we get are from the slopes of Mount Etna. Practically everything we get is from the slopes of Mount Etna. Typically things that, you know, bigger, better, juicier, whatever.
How about your brother and his question?
Where's my brother?
If an Italian,
Dog.
if a Sicilian dog spoke to an American dog, would they understand?
He
each
was
other?
serious about that too.
No,
My
he wasn't.
brother Tommy is a riot. He's an accomplished man. I love that kid. We speak almost every day.
I know, that's a great thing.
And also my son Matthew, who's in Florida vacationing. I'm a little bit nervous about him being in Florida because of damn virus stuff or whatever. Did you have a couple of questions that the listeners wanted to?
Let me.
ask?
Okay, so Renee O'Connor said, "What prompted both of you to move to Sicily?" You go first.
All right, this is kind of like this is a nice story. Okay,
All your stories are
this will
nice.
take about 3 minutes though. Is that okay?
You can have 4.
4 minutes, okay. My father, God rest his soul, Sonny Zappala, Santo Sonny Zappala, he died December the 29th, 1996. And there isn't a day that goes by, honestly, I swear to God, that I don't pray to the Lord God that his soul is in heaven. When he lay dying, as a matter of fact, I had the last rites administered to him 4 times. 4 times I did, just to make sure, right? For that stuff. So to make a long story short, as he was dying for 2 weeks before, on his deathbed, I spent a lot of time with him. It was kind of like a father and a son, closing the book, so to speak. And I remember my father grabbed me. I had a jacket and tie on that day in the hospital. He grabbed me and he pulled me close to him. And he informed me. He says, "Listen, Alfred, I'm dying." And I was like, "Yeah, well, no kidding, Dad." He says, "But you have to do a favor for me." I says, "What?" "Whatever you want." He says, "After I'm buried, I want you to go to Trecastani." Now, I had never been to Trecastani.
Which is your ancestral home.
My ancestral home, 1996. I said, "Sure, Dad, how come?" And he said, because when my father was dying, that would be my grandfather, Alfio, he asked me to go there and to pray, say a prayer at the Church of St. Alfio for his soul, but I never had a chance to do it. So now you have to do it for me and for him. So I said, "Sure, no problem." So we buried him, dying on December the 29th. They kind of put the body on ice till after the first of the year, because who the hell's going to work on that? So anyways, I called my secretary up and I canceled my appointments for the week, whatever the heck it was. I jumped on a plane, Boston to Rome, Rome to Catania. First time I had been to Catania. And when I landed in Catania at the Fontana Rossa airport, which you've been to 10,000 times yourself, every DNA molecule in my body said to me, "You're home." See, I had always felt like a square peg in a round hole in the United States. Even though I'm an American and I love it, being brought up in a bilingual household, Sicily was put into my, almost practically my baby bottle, if you understand what I'm saying, all right? So when I got here, every DNA molecule in my body said, "This is where you belong." So I went to Trecastani for the first time, and I talked to the spirits of my ancestors. I couldn't believe it. I mean, as I was walking down those streets, it was like, things were popping up all over the place. I remember I called my secretary up. I says, "Listen, I'm staying here an extra 10 days, which is exactly what I did. I walked those streets for almost for 2 weeks. And it was a different paradigm for me. I left, and Sicily became my mistress.
So that was 24 years ago.
1996, whenever that was.
24 years ago.
2 years later, I became a citizen. Because my genes go back to Trecastani to the year 1705, because I researched them. Became a citizen right away, bought my first place, which was, interestingly enough, not in Trecastani, but with Peter Messina, my pal Peter Messina, in Pachino, which is kind of like the Florida Keys, so to speak, of Sicily. And since then, it's been, I stayed 5 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, a month, 3 months. I had a law practice after all, and it took me a long time to kind of extricate myself from my professional responsibilities in the States and to come here. So now, thanks to the marvels of the internet, I'm able to practice law, but I don't practice American law. Every time people want me to practice American law, I lay down till that urge passes. myself and my law partner Massimo will do Italian stuff over here for American clients who want to buy houses or find money or get birth certificates, stuff like that. But it's a different life, and for us, it's great. Am I
This is
correct?
resonating with a lot of people, Alfred. I had the same feeling when I first stepped foot in Palermo. I cried and cried harder than I had when I had to leave home. Christine says, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Joe Escioni says the same. My story is not as romantic. My story is pretty simple. I met Alfred in 2013 at your brother's radio show, the Sicilian Corner. And we started talking about you, me, and Sicily, about me coming here for 3 weeks, 4 weeks to do 6 episodes on Sicily. I had been in TV for many years before that. So we thought, let's put some of the stories of Sicily into videos. And I came here, and I have to tell you, as a Hungarian, same sort of thing. I feel at home here. I feel there's something about here. I think about my
because of Alfredo sauce. Yeah. No, I'm kidding.
I think about my ancestors a lot. Things resonate for me here as well. And you know what? That was 2014 was my first year here. I ended up staying 5 months until October. And here we are 7 years later, and we're at episode 69 or 70. So, and I'm not done with Sicily. I have a intense passion for Sicily. Someone made a comment about how interesting it is that I know a little bit, or I know quite a bit about Sicily, because I have made it my passion. It is my passion. I have made it my purpose to know everything I can about Sicily, because Sicily got into my bloodstream as well.
First of all, she kind of downplays her talents. Okay, I always say that she could be on 60 Minutes or one of those and in fact, Esther is an Emmy-nominated journalist. I don't know if you folks knew that, but she is, okay? She was born in Hungary, so her first language was Hungarian. Then after that, her family, they moved to Israel, so she can kick around a little bit with Hebrew. Then after that, they moved to Brazil, okay? And guess what? She could speak a little bit of Portuguese. She didn't arrive into the United States of America. She was, 13 years old?
13.
13 years old. Yeah, no, I mean, if she had an accent, I couldn't.
You don't have to do the dishes tonight.
She speaks English better than I do. But she's a reporter. She's a journalist. Okay, I wanted to get. I was with my daughter Katie, by the way, that day. As you remember, in the radio station. Remember that,
yes.
Katie? Yeah, and she was all over me. She was over me like a cheap suit. It was unbelievable. But anyways, I was interested because I had written 4 books, and I needed someone to visualize for me stuff. So that's why I brought her here. And now look at it. It's been I don't know how many years later.
And I'm not done. I'm not done with Sicily.
So,
all right, let's do a few of these comments. You guys are making Frank cry. We love you.
Frankie boy, I love you too. Vivian.
Maria,
hey, how about Vivian?
Vivian says,
happy Thanksgiving.
Cool chick. We're glad you're here for us, says Vivian. Joe and Sue say you guys are really hitting the point home.
Yeah.
Sicily is part of our DNA, Alfred. I heard them speaking to me when I walked in around Kanikati at 4 a.m. I remember telling Frank this. I have to tell you that, when we were, Dusty says, it was the same for us. We felt like we were home from the first time we visited. Dusty and Michael are from Isola della Femmina, which we did an entire episode.
Thank you for your donation to the Sicilian project, Dusty.
So, when we used to go back, because Alfred was teaching at the university in Boston as a law professor, we had a
law school, not the university.
Law school. We would count down the days to come back to Sicily. And when it was time to go back to the United States, we'd be like, oh, what's going to be your last meal? Oh, I don't want to go back. It's cold. Obviously, now it's a little bit different. We're not able to go back. But back then, I remember just being so excited to come back to Sicily.
No, we'll get back to the United States as soon as the restrictions. I mean, from what she researches the stuff and writes about it every day with this virus and stuff. Allegedly, it's going to plateau within the next week or so.
Yeah.
Which means that'll be good. and which means that the end will be, within the horizon here. And since the United States is roughly 3 weeks behind or 4 weeks behind Italy, that means there's going to be, the sun's going to be on the horizon. So it's not going to be.
For sure.
That's what I think about.
And by the way, wait a second. And by the way, the Facebook page where I post the daily numbers and also news is called News from Sicily and Italy.
Yep.
Okay, Peter Scipoletti, thank you for all you do to bring Sicily to us. Happy Thanksgiving. Montedoro's in the house. Peter, yes, we did an entire episode on Montedoro as well.
That's a great town. I love that town.
Jim Ingram, yeah. When Jim Ingram spent a few months here, and when our driver took him to the airport that morning, he told me that Jim was crying. So Sicily, there's something about Sicily.
You know what blows people away?
As
you're coming in on the plane from Rome, and you're coming to the Catania airport, going over Etna.
Oh,
for the first time, you look down and you look at it, and it's just like, ooh,
wow,
it blows you away. It blows you away. And then when you get up close and personal. Okay, yet another question that folks ask?
Folks, if you have any questions for us, if there's something you want, this one, we're going to say, we're, by the way, going to go again live on Sunday, so make sure you look for the link. But I've got a turkey in the oven, so let's do another few minutes, and then we'll say goodbye, get people to cook and do their things for Thanksgiving. Okay. You know what I wanted to ask you?
Montedoro is a great town. I love that place. I like the observatory there.
Yeah, the observatory. That's a town rich of history because of the sulfur mining.
The sulfur mines.
That's an interesting point. That we had that entire episode on Montedoro. Yes, there was the sulfur mining, but that observatory is spectacular.
Yeah.
But Montedoro has that, and so does Cianciana. Remember, we went to Cianciana, that mountaintop town that has a very rich sulfur history, which is something that people don't really talk about, and a lot of Sicilians even have told me that they're surprised. They didn't know the story about the sulfur mining here in Sicily. Sicily had the monopoly.
If there wasn't, let's listen to me right now, folks, okay? If the sulfur mines did not give sulfur to Great Britain and the United States of America, okay, on the backs of children, okay?
Sicilian
kids, there would not have been an industrial revolution because the sulfur was used as a prime ingredient for all the textile mills in both the Great Britain and the United States of America. If that happened, all that stuff that happened in the South prior to the Civil War, or right after the Civil War, maybe wouldn't have happened because there wouldn't have been an industrial revolution. Sicily has been, that's what her history is about. It's from other countries exploiting her natural resources, starting with, as you said, the Phoenicians taking salt. The Romans cut down all the trees practically in the plains of Catania to make boats. The Spanish did. The only people who didn't were the Muslims. The Muslims introduced lots of good things in Sicily, from agricultural things to most of the food that we eat.
A lot of culinary influences, but also the cities, the whole idea of cities, right?
Right. The art, the architecture, mathematics. And then again, after they left, the French were okay under Stupamundi, Frederick II. Italy, Sicily, Palermo became the intellectual cultural capital of Europe, right? And then after he was gone, the jackboot was on the neck with the Spanish for 400 years. Okay, really it was. And we have all these beautiful palaces all over the place and stuff, but they exploited. Watch that movie. And what's the name of that book? The Leopard. Okay, read The Leopard. Okay. And then it just doesn't end. After them, you had the Nazis come in here. So it's been a tough road to hoe for Sicilian people.
But Sicilians are resilient. You can say that. And
they're survivors.
They're survivors and resilient.
Sicilians are survivors, period, and the sentence, and that's how it goes. We had the first time when the virus came out, we sucked it up.
And people thought that
We
Sicilians,
sucked it up here.
and people thought that Sicilians, there's no way they're going to be hot-headed. And look at that.
We sucked
For
it up,
months,
right?
for months, we were one of the best
Yep.
provinces. But I want to say too that the Sicilians who what it is and who Sicilians are today are because of all those influences. That's why you have some of the most amazing dishes. The foods of Sicily are not the foods of Rome. The architecture. Sicilians are made up of all those DNAs.
You know, there's a basic mistrust, or there was a basic mistrust for authority. And people say, well, you know, why is that, Alfred? How come? And the reason is very simple. Because as all these conquerors and occupiers came into Sicily, the local police authorities were the enforcers of whoever the occupier was, okay? Right up in today, Castagni, there's a abandoned Spanish prison. If you see it, you would weep, okay?
Yeah.
How many Italian kids, you know, Sicilian kids got stuck in that? I mean, it was unbelievable. Forget about, all it has is 4 walls, those rooms, those jails, and the bars, okay? Forget about heat, forget about, I mean, you in the summertime, it'd be like getting baked in an oven. So there's an inherent, there always was an inherent distrust for authority.
Mhm.
You know, and my generation, which grew up in America, the generation that fled before us, that's how they felt. That's how they felt, okay, to a person. I mean, I know a few people who were terrific lawyers and judges, but for every person that I knew like that, I knew 10 bookies in the city of Lawrence, playing craps, going to the racetrack. I don't want to say flaunting the law, but just a different mistrust. Let me just rephrase that. We can do it ourselves. We don't need anybody to help. You know what I'm saying? So that's what is, and I see that a little bit over here too. You know, we keep to ourselves. Okay, we keep to ourselves. We just work. We work because we're trying to paint beautiful pictures. Right?
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about the mafia. I know the mafia is very important, but I don't want to talk about it because, you know, it's been in the United States of America between the Godfather trilogy, Goodfellas, The Sopranos, all those mafia places. It has set us back
For sure.
5 decades in terms of acceptance with non-Italians. Okay. Yes, it's a beautiful art film. Okay.
Remember, we did.
But in the final analysis, you know, 1% or 2% maybe were gangsters. What about the other 99%? They weren't gangsters. What about the sacrifice that they made? Saving money for their kids, emphasizing education. But what about that? Working in the sweatshops in the city of Lawrence, denying themselves for their children and their grandchildren. Those are the stories that I want to tell, that we want to tell. We want to tell the truth. We want to show the sacrifice of the people. The people are heroic, but you know
one thing about that. You know, that when I first came here, and in fact, we had a few people during one of some of our interviews, the Gambino brothers, and also Alessandro from the Italian language school. They feel discriminated against when they're in the United States. And even remember, Alessandro sent his son or daughter to Germany to study, and they were made fun of because they were Sicilian. So those movies, those TV shows, The Sopranos, really cast a bad shadow on a lot of Sicilians.
We've had two popes from Sicily. How does that sound? We've had great writers. Okay, Pirandello, for example. Okay, there's 10,000 million advances in mathematics and the sciences and the arts that Sicilian folks have done. How about the opera? Cavaliere Rusticana from Catania. Okay, the list is endless, but folks don't talk about that.
And that's what we want to do, is bring the jewels,
they talk about
highlight the
Corleone. They want to talk about Don Corleone.
That was funny.
They want to talk about Michael Corleone. They want to talk about basically junk. They want to talk about junk. They don't want. That's not the reality. And the sad part about it is those types of movies here in Sicily, they're on the television. They're on the television. One of the most popular, it's the last thing I'll say too, was a program called Capo di Tutti Capi. Okay.
Oh, that's right.
It was like
The boss of
it was
all
like the
bosses.
Roots, so to speak. Remember Roots of Italy? For months, people were captivated on TV to learn the story of the mafia from Corleone when they took on the mafia from Palermo. Okay. Totoriana and all those guys. Who's the other guy? Bindi, the Provenzano, all these guys, all right? The guy from Catania, Santa Paolo, etc. And they were mesmerized. Okay, so that still goes on. Don't get me wrong. It still goes. Meanwhile, we know people that try to take kids and teach them how to play music to get away from
to get them from the mafia.
To get them away from the mafia, because when
there's
there's
a lot of work to
unemployment,
be done, though.
when there's unemployment, and here there's a huge unemployment for
And increasing.
okay, and increasing, but unemployment for kids is about 40 or 50%. Those kids that are unemployed, they're the muscle. They get recruited as the muscle for the mafia, selling droga. You know what droga is? Drugs. So what are you gonna do?
All right. Frankie Roast Beef, love the discussion. Happy Thanksgiving from Spaghettiville, Lowell, Massachusetts.
Red Raiders.
Dave from Sigonella is here. Let's see who else is here. Marion is here. Ciao, Marion. Marion and Lori came with us. That was last year, no, 2 years ago. The lynching of Sicilians in New Orleans is not known to most Americans. That's true. We actually, what was the guy of the name?
My good pal, Mike Santos.
Mike Santos, that's right.
Right. He did a great job exposing that. You know that the largest lynching in the United States of America took place when 13 Sicilian guys were lynched in New Orleans.
New Orleans.
You know, I wrote about that in my book, in one of my books that I wrote about that lynching, and it was because it was a corrupt Irishman who was chief of police. He was assassinated by other gangsters, Irish gangsters, and they put the blame on Sicilians, but they were acquitted. Okay, but what happened was the newspapers there, okay, they gaslighted everybody. You know what gaslighted means? They told phony stories. They engaged in yellow journalism, and they encouraged people to rush the jails and to take them out and to lynch them, which is exactly what happened. And copycat lynchings took place all throughout the South, in Florida, California, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina. It was just disgraceful what's happened to the Sicilians, in my view. Just my
okay,
view.
Mark Hillel, ciao, Mark Hillel. Where's Mark? From Connecticut.
Alfred, your face is turning red.
Yeah,
just
talk
you know
about it.
Chris, I get irritated about that. I really get irritated about that because the story, people don't know. And what happens is as this generation, you know, hits the road and, you know, gets 6 feet underground, who's going to tell the story? Who?
Marion says they came in 2009. Yep, we said hi. Carmen Termini, American TV will never do Sicily justice. It's just the most beautiful. You know, that was one of the reasons that we started You, Me, and Sicily, to dispel all the stereotypes. You know, and I'm embarrassed to say this, but, you know, I have a lot of smart friends. And I had one of them say to me, aren't you worried about the mafia in Sicily? When I came here in 2016.
That's how it goes, you know?
It's how it goes.
I
listen, let's wrap up.
Yeah, okay.
You guys, did you enjoy this? Did you have fun? We had Frank Neilio on earlier. That was so much fun. We hope to have other people on here as well. Let's just read a few more.
My husband is a first-generation Sicilian immigrant.
Speaks Sicilian, visited Sicily last year. If you have to be stuck somewhere, what a place. I agree with you 100%.
Marion, happy Thanksgiving, sweetheart.
Okay.
Vivian, love you, sweetie pie.
So we want to know if you want to keep us broadcasting like this. We're definitely going to be live on Sunday. So leave us some comments about what you want to hear about. If you have any questions, write it in the chat. What else? And
we're going to selectively invite folks on. Like as we said, this Sunday we have my brother Tom on. My brother Tom's got a lot of great stories.
We're going to talk all about growing up with Alfred Zappola.
Christmas stories, which is
Christmas
our stories
stories
are the same as yours. And I just want to say one thing about Vivian, okay?
Yeah.
I love you, Vivian. You're a doll. She's from San Vito Lo Capo, but she is an ardent supporter of not only what we do,
You, me, and Sicily, but
also
the Sicilian project.
As is
So
B,
thank
as
you.
is B and Dawn. I mean, we have a lot of great people here. It's been my privilege to work with the Sicilian project and with Esther and the Yumi, because the cut of people that I've met far exceeds anything that I did in the States. I mean, I have to be honest with you. This is not a profession for her and I. This is a vocation.
Chin
now.
chin.
What?
No, I was going to chin chin with
All
you.
right. So now, is that turkey ready?
Is our turkey ready?
I hope it
Probably in
is.
a little bit.
Can you do me one
Love
favor?
you
before,
guys.
wait a minute,
Thank you. Yeah.
Wait, before you go. Can you just, how was the quality
Everyone
of
said it was great.
everything was
There's
okay?
No one
Yeah.
was complaining.
Okay.
So you guys, thank you for watching.
bless you,
and
huh?
don't forget to subscribe to this channel.
So Benedigo. Bye, Jen. Bye,
And
Katie.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Ciao.
Ciao.